her final broadcast TV interview.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, how are you?
Nice to see you. I love you.
All over?
Nothing helps you kick back at the end of...
We just met, and already he's insulting me like a real brother.
It was on TV that different stroke star Dana Plato first came to our attention, and it's on videotape that her memory will now endure. Here in our library, we have the last television interview with Plato, and what's caught on tape is an unsettling and poignant portrait of the tragedy to come. Stacey Galandi reports.
I'm well, I am, and I feel really good in my heart. I'm well in my heart, you know.
When Dana Plato spoke with us in February, we had no idea this would be her final broadcast TV interview.
Right now, it's just a time for Dana.
We had found the former different stroke star in Tulsa, Oklahoma, after friends and family had told us she had vanished. Back then, her birth mother, Linda Strain, worried Dana was on drugs. She told us her biggest fear.
Of her dying and me reading it in a tabloid.
On Mother's Day, Linda learned that Dana was gone, dead at 34 of a drug overdose. Police say Dana died Saturday night in this Winnebago in Moore, Oklahoma, a mile from where tornadoes hit down just last week. Authorities say Dana had taken a combination of Valium and the painkiller Loratab.
The medical examiner's office is investigating the case as a possible accidental overdose.
Paramedics rushed to this home here in Moore, Oklahoma. The home belongs to Dana's fiance's parents. Neighbors looked on as paramedics desperately tried to revive Dana, but to no avail. The day before she died, Dana had flown to New York and told shock jock Howard Stern she was off drugs.
You've been on any medication or anything like that?
I have been sober for the longest time.
Really?
Oh, it's over a decade now.
No kidding.
No joke.
Calvin Crandall was one of Dana's closest friends.
Dana was more high on life than drugs. She was so full of energy.
Oh, look at them, Daddy. Just look at them.
After she left Different Strokes in 1984, Dana's life seemed to spiral out of control. In 1991, she was arrested for holding up a Las Vegas video store with a gun. A stint in jail was followed by a failed marriage, alcoholism, and another arrest, this time for forging prescriptions for nearly 1,000 Valium pills. Dana was open about her addictions, and we asked her how long she had been drug-free.
Gosh, it's been like 88, maybe. 88 or 89, 87, way back when. I have, now, I will say, I did. I have fallen off and I've had a beer here and there. I have done that.
Dana's concerned mother, Linda Strain, had given her up for adoption when she was a baby. After Dana had an emotional reunion with Linda and her family a few years ago, she and her mom had a falling out. In February, Linda told us she was desperate for a reconciliation. Watching her interview now is heart-wrenching.
I don't want her to die. I don't want to be hit with that. I want to know her. I want to smell her one more time.
Those who knew Dana say her death is all the more sad because for the first time her future was looking up. She was engaged to a musician and close again with her son Tyler, who was being raised by her ex-husband's family. Watching Dana in one of her final interviews, you can't help but notice the lost potential of this one-time TV sweetheart.
I'm doing real well. I am, and I am. I'm a happy girl.
Toxicology tests on Ms. Plato aren't expected for at least a week. Tomorrow we'll talk exclusively with actors Gary Coleman and Todd Bridges as they react to the death of their Different Strokes co-star. But coming up here, we'll leave you laughing in just a moment with some of our favorite moments caught on tape. On today's Inside Track, on this day in 1986, which motley rocker married the... Which motley rocker married the...
That she couldn't pull it together before this had to happen.
And I'm Paula Francis. You've heard of road rage. Now there's a new kind of...
You're going to read one of your inspirational Christmas fables again, aren't you?
Being charged. She says she's not to blame. You'll hear her story.
And he says he knew the real Dana Plato, a close friend of the former Different Strokes star. Tells Eyewitness News about the side of Dana no one saw. Plus, how could fashion magazines be hazardous to your health? We'll show you straight ahead.
This is Channel 8's Eyewitness News at 11 with Gary Waddell and Paula Francis.
I feel horrible, and I feel horrible for the parents and stuff, and I've gotten calls from a lot of parents around here, and they keep yelling at me that that it was my fault. And
Good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Who's to blame for a weekend accident here in the Valley that took the life of a teenager?
A teen driver has been charged, and so has a Boulder City woman. That woman you...
Nick Quinn are in shock. Mary Tan just got back from Boulder City, where many teenagers are having a tough time with this loss. Mary?
That's correct, Jim. Nicholas Quinn was a freshman at Boulder City High School. His life ended abruptly, leaving many unanswered questions.
Early Sunday morning, a car upside down on northbound US 95 between Horizon and Lake Mead in Henderson. Police say in the car, 15-year-old Nicholas Quinn, seen here in a 6th grade picture, and his buddy,
Obscenity charges. The publisher and his brother are accused of selling a sexually...
Lambs as Boston beats Seattle. Cleveland over Baltimore.
299. The merchant's son stood.
Of 3 TV kids who fell from the spotlight.
Something bad was going to happen in their lives.
Different Strokes, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on the E! True Hollywood Story.
He was part of the animal group.
To study the mind of a convicted killer.
Are you a murderer? Oh, yeah.
A psychiatrist.
If you don't talk to me, I can't help you.
Is prepared to risk everything. Academy Award.
Drew Mickelson from Eyewitness News reports some say it was a drug addiction that could have been prevented.
Television fans first knew Dana Plato as Kimberly Drummond on the sitcom Different Strokes. But in Las Vegas, Plato was made famous again, this time as a criminal. In 1991, Plato used a pellet gun to rob a video store in the Lakes.
And she pulled the gun out from under her jacket and she goes, "Give me your money."
Plato pled guilty and was put on probation.
Oh, I'm just real happy to be going home. And I hope I can do everything I can to help other people, not as I did.
But Plato herself, in 1992, she was back in court after writing herself a prescription for Valium. Plato's probation was lengthened and she was put under the supervision of Drug Program Administrator Ray Slaughter.
Dana and I were very close, and we had a strong relationship, and I hate to see it end this way. I really do.
Slaughter attributes all of Plato's problems to her drug problems. He worked closely with her for almost 7 years and says she showed signs of kicking her addictions.
She would make efforts from time to time. You know, she'd come here and stay with me for a few weeks until she couldn't stand the straight life anymore, and then she'd head back to L.A., and then I wouldn't hear from her, and then she'd come back and spend a couple weeks.
Slaughter says Plato's death is tragic, but he says she's proof of what drugs can do to a person.
There's only 3 things that can happen to a drug addict, and that's either they get better and stay better, or they go to jail, or they die. And unfortunately, Dana experienced all 3 of those things.
Drew Mickelson, Eyewitness News.
While she lived in Las Vegas, Dana Plato worked as a ticket taker and a dry cleaner and also co-starred in a show at the Rio. If you're shopping for a home in the Las Vegas...
We laughed at their jokes, we cried at their disappointments. We even wish we could be part of their extraordinary television families. Coming into our living rooms every week, my guests today were part of our lives. This ghoulish 60s sitcom became so popular, it was made recently into a blockbuster movie. They were creepy and kooky, and I'm sure that theirs is still the most popular family come Halloween time. Our guest today played the precocious Wednesday on The Addams Family. Please welcome the lovely Lisa Loring, ladies and gentlemen. My next guest was one of the most mischievous little boys on television. We always had a warm spot in our hearts for the blonde, troublemaking tyke who made a living by tormenting his neighbor, Mr. Wilson. Who could ever forget Dennis the Menace? Welcome back, Jay North. Jay North. Hey, Jay. Jay North. She spent her TV childhood in the lap of televised luxury, sharing a penthouse with her millionaire dad and her two stepbrothers adopted from the ghetto. Unfortunately, this make-believe affluent lifestyle ended when she left the series. But get ready for a comeback from the girl who played Kimberly. Here's Dana Plato. In his role as Jeff Stone on the popular Donna Reed show, his series made us believe in that squeaky clean image of the American family. And girls from all over this planet swooned over this guy. He has since made it his life's work to rescue former child stars from the pratfalls of Hollywood. Welcome, Paul Peterson, ladies and gentlemen. Paul Peterson.